Hello, friends. Have you noticed how much podcasts have grown in popularity over the past few years? We definitely have, and it's insane. We have an opportunity for your business to take advantage of the exponential growth of our podcast by advertising with us. We've been riding the podcast growth wave for a few years now, and we want you to take advantage of this too. We have unbeatable pricing and advertising packages, and we work with you on an individual basis to produce the most effective ad possible for our audience. If you would like to advertise with Forbidden Knowledge News, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. We look forward to all our new partnerships. Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Nina the Mystic. First, a couple of announcements. Our website is forbiddenknowledge.news. This is the home of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. You'll find some of your favorite podcasts from our community there, Raised by Giants, Inception, Going Down the Rabbit Hole, many more. Forbidden Knowledge News is always available on Rokfin, Odysee, Rumble, all podcast platforms. Rokfin is where you get our premium content. You also get all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin for only $10 a month. You just go to rokfin.com/FKN+, or click the link in the description to sign up. You can also create a free account and get tons of free content, including all of our regular shows. Today I want to welcome Nina the Mystic. She was born and raised in Norway and has a strong connection to the Norse mythologies. She also works in the balance of both light and dark and does not conform to either white or dark magic, but rather a balance of both. She quickly became aware of her unique abilities as a clairsentient. She can feel and sense spirit around her all the time and has learned to use this in her readings. Nina, welcome. How are you doing?
I am doing great. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm excellent. I really enjoyed doing your show. You had me on a couple of weeks ago. We had a great conversation. Today, we're going to find out more about you. Find out more about yourself and what led you down your path, some of the consciousness abilities and talents that you offer to folks. But first, this is your first time on. Tell us more about your background and kind of what led you to where you're at today.
Well, I was born and raised in Norway, actually. So I moved to Canada when I was late teen, I guess, 18, I think I was when I moved here. My mom's from Canada. That's why I came here. But yeah, I grew up over there, fairly normal, I guess, other than, I don't know if you saw my episode with Ryder Lee. I talked about sleep paralysis and being spiritually attacked my whole life. So I don't want to go into that too much here because I don't want to be kind of redundant with the audience, but ever since I can remember, as far back as like 4 years old, being spiritually attacked. Some call it sleep paralysis, whatever you want to call it. Definitely for me, I would have to say, yeah, there's definitely something else going on there. A whole lot more going on than I think what the scientists want to call it anyways. But yeah, so I had that pretty much my whole life, but I just kind of brushed it off. I didn't talk about it. Nobody really knew about it. And it wasn't until I got older and once the kids got older, teenagers, I had a lot more time, to start focusing on other things than just domestic and child rearing and whatnot. And it basically ended with like a fairly major incident with this whole thing where this being manifested in my room. It was laying right next to me. I could feel its hands. It put his hand into mine, and it was very intense. It was an all night kind of thing. I didn't sleep the rest of that night after that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
And so that kind of led me to like, oh, okay, that's it. I'm gonna have to now figure out, okay, what is going on here, So that's when kind of led me to started talking to people. I asked my friends, family. No, nobody else seemed to have these kind of experiences and whatnot. And that's basically what got me on the computer and started researching basically what's going on, sleep paralysis. And that just kind of snowballed down. I kind of left Christianity behind because, growing up in Norway, everybody's Christian. It's kind of they basically force you to say that, because if you're not, then you can't get different things. You can't get married. There's a lot of different things you can't do unless you abide by the rules that was inflicted on us 2,000 years ago, right? So, or 50 or 1,500 years or whatever it was, right? So that's still going on. So people do identify with it, but I would say nobody's really practicing. The church is basically gone over there. I think there's more mosques now over there than there is churches. So that tells you a lot. But that's what kind of got me going on all of this. And next thing you know, I started, contacting spirits and all this kind of stuff. So I actually talked to Ryder a little bit yesterday on my channel. He was back on my channel last night. So I don't know if the audience watched that, but we talked about electricity and how they feel like, I know my first contact, if you will, with a spirit, it did feel like an electric jolt. So it's definitely something to all that kind of stuff. I know back in the day when electricity was introduced to society, a lot of the Christians and whatnot were saying that, oh, that's evil, like it was an evil thing, electricity. They didn't quite know. And there's something to it. They were on to something there. I wouldn't say it's evil because that's the only understanding that they have, anything that they don't understand, it's evil. So, there's something, I think they do transfer, like they're able to contact us through electricity.
I agree. Electromagnetics is I believe a great conduit for spirit from everything that I've experienced and heard. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, Ryder is on the network, but he has a little bit of a different audience. We cover so many different topics, throughout our history here. So I'd love to hear these stories from your childhood about sleep paralysis and anything else that kind of led you to where you're at. Because, the audience that listens to Ryder may not have heard this and vice versa.
So my mother had psychic abilities, so there's definitely something to with the whole bloodline thing. It does get passed down, I would say, but my mom also identified as a Christian, and her last 10, 15 years of her life, she was trying to live like a Christian. So she, she would get dreams and she would tell me things, whatever, but she kind of suppressed it. We didn't, she didn't want all her friends to know about that, because again, that's evil because they don't understand it. So there's definitely something to it there, but we all have gifts and talents in this kind of stuff. It's just a matter of kind of developing and paying attention, really. So I was gung-ho. Once I get into something, I go all the way, and so I started wanting to summon a spirit. And sure enough, it took about 30 days, though, a good 30 days of doing it every day, every single day. And like I said, the first contact, I guess, was like the electric jolt. That's,
Was this some type of ritual or ceremony you were performing?
I just went online and started, looking around and just try to figure it out myself just by doing it, by meditation, and writing it down, focusing on that intention, writing down what kind of spirit you want to contact, like all of that kind of stuff, right? And you just keep doing it every day, every day. It's not something that just happens just like that. It does take some time, but I did get in contact with a spirit, actually, and come to think of it, his name was Michael. And when I was talking to Ryder yesterday, the L behind L, electricity, there's a lot more to all of this. I didn't realize that either until I started thinking about this after we talked about that last night. But his name was Michael, and yeah, very interesting. There's a lot of lessons learned there, and yeah.
Now, did this spirit manifest physically, or how was the experience? How did it unfold?
Yeah, no, he did not physically. It was definitely during a dream time, you know, when you're in that lucid state. All of a sudden you'll show up. But I wasn't able to hold a connection too long. But I had quite a few encounters, and I saw a few things that are very interesting. And I have to say, like, for him, how he looks, it was more like a light being. So like a silhouette kind of a person, but it's just light. So yeah, so that was very interesting too. But I have noticed they can morph into whatever it is that you want to see, kind of thing. So yeah, very interesting.
That's very interesting. Now, I want to go back to your sleep paralysis experiences. I've had this occur myself, but it happened when I was in a pretty bleak situation, and it was a bad time in my life. This was years ago, and I was kind of still in a bad marriage, and I was far from doing this show. This wasn't even on my radar yet, but I wasn't in a good place, and I remember just almost every night trying to sleep, and I would just wake up and I couldn't move, and I would try to get up, and then I'd start hearing this banging noise on the ceiling, and I was like, what is that? I need to get up and see what that is. And then I'd see these shadows walk by, and I'm like, no one's in my house, what the heck's going on? And I just would freak out because I couldn't move, and all of a sudden I'd just pop up and out of it, and this would continue and continue until I got myself in a better place, until actually my divorce from that person. So it was very interesting how that unfolded, and how once I got a better mental state of mind, it kind of ended. I'd like to hear your experiences.
Yeah, I had that my whole life. So imagine from the day I was born, probably. It's just that I can't remember past sort of around 3.5, 4, around there. Pretty much, like, I would say 3, 4, 5 nights a week. It didn't matter if I had a spouse next to me or not. It would happen. Sometimes I remember going to Vegas, for instance. There's a lot of activity going on down there. There, I didn't even get to close my eyes. Even I was in sleep paralysis immediately. I could see them swirling around on the ceiling and whatever down there. So there's definitely a lot more activity down there. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think it was to wake me up, because as soon as I got out of Christianity and I started researching the occult and whatever, it was gone. I haven't had a single episode since. So I think that they were just, I called it bugging me. They're bugging me and bugging me and bugging me until I okay, that's it. I need to figure out what's going on here. So
you do believe that sleep paralysis is somehow connected to these interdimensional entities that you have somehow access to through your consciousness, and they were trying to kind of get your attention?
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think maybe there's a bit of a portal that's open. I don't know exactly why it was happening so much to me, but I don't know, maybe because I was so stubborn, it took that kind of work for them to get my attention to where I let go of the old religion, and so it took that much, I guess. Yeah, otherwise I probably wouldn't have. I would have just come, yeah.
Now, how did you kind of maintain your connection with spirit? I know that when lots of folks get older or leave childhood, this kind of strong connection leaves, and it's very few people that are able to maintain it unless they somehow gain that connection back through whatever type of experience they've had, or meditation, or actually working towards that. How was your connection? Did it just stay with you?
Yeah, so I mean, those profound connections or encounters don't happen that often. We get a few of them, just enough. And actually, that came to me in the download too, because I was asking the same thing. Well, why aren't I getting this all the time? Why is it only, and the answer is that, well, you got enough. I got enough experiences to know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? We don't need to be experiencing it night after night. You just need it for that time so that you got the message, you got, what the reason behind it, so. But what I do now is that once you get in there and you get comfortable with it and you start developing relationships with your guides and your angels and whatnot, whatever you want to call it, to me, it's just spirits, really. I don't really see a whole difference between, angel, demon, ghost, whatever. Like, it's just, to me, it's just spirits. I haven't really felt anything. One is bad and the other one is good. Like, they're, you know what I mean? So I think it's all in the intention behind it too, is and what you want to get out of it. Because if you want a negative experience, I'm sure that's what you're going to get, right? If that's what you're expecting, and some people get off on that, so so that's what you're going to get, right? But if you just go into it with a calm and mature attitude, then you're going to have a better experience. So anyway, so I developed that relationship, and I've learned to trust it now. I know what it is when I can hear it and feel it, and it's just a knowing, and you just know what cards to pick, and the messages are coming in, and you'll just all of a sudden get downloads, but it's random. You can't like force it. It just happens when it's meant to be there, so yeah.
Now, how do you know that the entities that you're working with have either your best interest in mind, or giving you correct information, or even to be trusted to begin with? I've had plenty of guests that speak of the trickster entities that are more malevolent, maybe not purely evil or anything, but maybe more trickster-like, that want to take advantage of human energy, and maybe get humans to do some tasks for them at times, and by doing that they feed them some what seems to be profound information, but it's just for that particular spirit's benefit, or whatever this entity is. How do you tell that you're working with honorable type entities?
Yeah, so you develop a relationship with your guides and angels, and it is definitely a relationship of trust. And before I do anything, I call them in, for protection and whatnot, So, when I first got started with divination and stuff like that, we tend to kind of overdo it. Like, we're constantly, asking the pendulum, constantly asking the cards for the stupidest little things, and that they get tired of that real quick. And yeah, they can start giving out false, or inaccurate answers. And you kind of get to know that. So you don't want to be overusing them or overdoing it. You want to use it. You want to get into there with respect and so you kind of get to kind of know that, and you kind of got to trust your team that they're there protecting you from any and also proof in the pudding, like are the things that you're getting, are they accurate or are they not? You'll be able to figure that out real quick. So when you consistently bang on, you do have to trust that they have your best interests. So
now, would you say that there is any danger in dabbling with things like divination or spirit contact or ritual magic, anything like this that kind of connects to the other side? I would imagine if you don't have an understanding of it, or you're using it for nefarious reasons, that it couldn't be too good of an outcome for you in the long run. But, I've only done things that I know are for either my or other people's benefit. I have myself worked with my spirit guides and ancestors, and the knowing that I have is just from the messages and the profound kind of guidance to heal myself, heal my childhood, heal childhood traumas, and the love that's associated with each of these experiences has been profound. And it's like this ultimate sense of knowing. And I've even called upon, in the name of Christ, are you good? I've done all this stuff in the beginning when I first contacted these. So I just have this beautiful sense of knowing that where they're guiding me is the right direction, Lately, we have been introducing you to all the amazing products Ascent Nutrition has to offer. This week, I'm very excited to tell you about their full-spectrum hemp oil. Ascent Nutrition's full-spectrum hemp oil utilizes superior plant genetics and an organic proprietary blend of natural ingredients. Their hemp oil contains not only an abundance of CBD, but 119 other phytocannabinoids found within the spectrum of the hemp plant. According to the National Center of Biotechnology Information, this strain is the gold standard in hemp genome sequencing. Ascent also uses a unique method that ensures infusion of significantly more phytocannabinoids and CBD than all other competitors they tested against, including most of the leading CBD companies. I challenge everyone in the audience that uses CBD, as well as those of you who may have tried other CBD options and didn't get any results, to try Ascent Nutrition's full-spectrum hemp oil, which is guaranteed to be much stronger and contains more phytonutrients than any others on the market. Just click the link in the description or visit goascentnutrition.com and use coupon code FKN to get 10% off your entire purchase.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about trusting, your team and whatever. And yeah, but I mean, not to say that there aren't evil beings out there. I mean, there's good and bad, just like humans. Some are good, some are bad. So definitely there can be, but putting up protections then, is very important. And definitely, if you're just starting out, I mean, you got to learn all that stuff first, before you start contacting some, to have all the foundation first, with grounding, protection, having that relationship with your team already so that, they're there, you can't, you're not just going to once a year on Halloween, bring out the Ouija board and, like it just, you never know what's going to come through there. Right. So,
right. Now, I don't use any of those things. My girlfriend uses tarot, and she does actual intuitive readings for people. I just have meetings with my guides and have a little conversation every once in a while. So I don't use these tools, and I don't know enough about these tools to be able to do so. So, maybe one day I'll kind of sack up and want to do it. But, until then, I just have my own personal way of interacting with the other side, and it's kind of I guess it's kind of a safe way, so I just feel comfortable with it. But for you, how did you get involved with the tarot and the other type of magical practices?
It kind of snowballed. Once you got on the computer and you just started researching, that it just snowballs. It starts with crystals and sage, and next thing you know, you got the tarot. It kind of just progresses, there. And I've always been fascinated with spirits. And like I said, my mom had, she would have dreams and stuff like that too, but she didn't quite call herself psychic, but, so there's that too. I've had a lot of the reoccurring dreams of things that I never thought, why would I be dreaming of that? There's no way I'm going to do that. And then sure enough, that does happen. So I've had a lot of that too. Which is actually, by saying that now, it's come to my attention that time doesn't exist. Time is kind of like on a loop. And the only way that it would be possible for me to dream about stuff that I'm doing in the future is because I've already done it. We've already been there. It's on a loop. That's the only logical explanation I can come up with that's even possible. So there you go.
Well, now that you brought us there, let's get into a little bit of your thoughts on the nature of our reality here, what we're doing here, our purpose, what this is, your experience so far. Now, I've been under the consideration of many things, of many possibilities that of what we're doing here and our existence here and what it's about. And one of those that I've been exploring recently is that we've kind of maybe created this reality for ourselves to experience and grow and for consciousness evolution and spiritual evolution. Or if we didn't, it's some kind of divine creation by our ancestors or spirit guides or source or whatever you want to call it. But it's for our own growth and spiritual evolution, and that maybe some of the nasty, evil stuff that we come up against in this type of reality that we're in is exactly for that, is for us to learn and grow from, because we wouldn't really go anywhere if they didn't have any tribulations or friction to grow from. Now, I want to get, what do you think that we're doing here, and do you believe in reincarnation as well?
I do. I do believe that we are in some kind of reincarnation wheel or trap or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Now, I feel that we're like fractals of Source. And this is Source's way of experiencing everything through us, and so there is no good or bad, really. It's just an experience, right? So, so some lifetimes we might be the abuser, the next lifetime we're the victim. There's not one is better than the other. It's just an experience, and how is Source going to know all this unless it's able to fractal off and implant into us golems here? This actually goes back to what we were talking about last night with Ryder. You guys should make sure you go and check that out. That we are actually a golem. That's all we are. If you go and look at Genesis 6, really when they're describing what they're doing there, that's what it is, So so he fractal, we don't know. There's no gender, I don't think, but fractals off so that then I do believe we go back there after we go back there with all our experiences, and I guess it gets uploaded somewhere, and it's kind of. Yeah, it almost, I remember I had a friend of mine who had a very, very profound sort of dream or whatever it was, but he also had this thing about we return to the machine. Now, is God Source? Is it a machine? That's a big question right there. Yeah,
it's definitely it's so fun and interesting to look at all the different possibilities and things of that nature. Now, I want to get into soon some of the tools of the trade that you're using, like you mentioned, crystals and tarot. But there's also a couple of things that I believe are very important to understand when it comes to following these mystical paths. One of them is synchronicities, and another is manifestation. Now, for me, synchronicities have been huge. I've paid attention to strange things happening around me for a while, things that kind of add up, things that don't add up. Talking and people on the radio talking at the same time, certain numbers, things that you hear and see on the television, people around you, just different events that are like signals that you're either doing something wrong or right, or you should go in that direction or you shouldn't. And I believe that we get these signals from the universe all the time, and it's up to us to choose to ignore them or follow them. And they could be some of the smallest things, but some of the most important things to guide us. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. That is exactly when we're talking about listening to your guides and angels. That's part of it. They talk to us through all kinds of mediums. It could be numbers. It could be, like you said, somebody talking, like you're thinking about something. All of a sudden, that whole thing appears in the song on the radio or on the, like I hear it and see it all the time. And this is how they're talking to us. It's just that normally we're just so busy. I know for the first 40 years of my life, I didn't pay attention to any of that stuff. It wasn't until I actually had time to sit still and contemplate and start investigating and getting into it that you do, so it's around us all the time. It's just taking that time to pay attention, yeah.
Yeah. Now, another thing that I mentioned is manifestation, and this has been something so huge for me. It's been almost instantaneous at times, depending on my attitude, my energy, my positivity, my actions towards others, just things that I do towards the positive on a daily basis that cause an outcome, pretty incredible outcome, or desire that you've had or something that you've needed that just kind of, somehow manifests for you just because you've done things in a certain way, or you've done things the right way, and you've given out enough positive energy to the universe for it to kind of manifest something back for you. And this is the way that it's worked for me in some of the most mysterious ways, but it's always for the better, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and kind of fulfilling my duties here, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. When you look at spells, okay, spells and whatever, spelling, writing it down. So, it might seem a little woo-woo to some people, but actually by writing it down, we can release it through fire, to the universe through fire, if you like, or you can bury that piece of paper, or speaking it out loud as well. These aren't just woo-woo things. It does work, and that's what spells and stuff is all about. Is what they're doing, writing it down, cursive as well, which is kind of interesting because they're taking the cursive out of the language now for the children. They're not learning cursive in school anymore. So it is very important to actually teach the next generation how to write cursive. That is part of our spells, is we write it in cursive and it never breaks. You just keep going, all around. And that way there's no breaks in it. So, writing it down and then focusing. Anything that you focus your intention on is going to come about. That's just the way this universe works. And so put your attention towards it, and that also goes for the bad. So if you're constantly focusing on the bad, oh, this is going to happen, or that, that probably will happen. It's going to manifest for you, so that's why it is very important to, focus on the positive, focus on what you want and not what you don't want, because otherwise you're going to get what you don't want, so yeah, absolutely.
Another thing that I've learned is not only something that we have to deal with as humans naturally, but it's something that occurs more often than I even thought, and I never thought it would happen to me, but spiritual attachments. Entities that kind of follow you and attach themselves to you like a parasite through whatever means, whether it's negative energy from your past or experiences or things you've done, or you have allowed it in by doing some kind of ritual, or unknowingly kind of brought it in with, like you were saying, spells or something you said. This is all possible, or even bad relationships. Like, I believe totally that people can have attachments that rub off on you just because you've been in a relationship with them, and these things stay with childhood trauma. All these things, I believe, create these little type of thought forms, or what people consider spiritual attachments, and sometimes, I believe that they very could well be a different form of consciousness or intelligence that attaches itself to you from whatever realm. But what are your thoughts on this, spiritual attachments, and any experiences that you'd like to talk about with these?
Yeah, it's funny when you were talking about that you had your attacks during a bad time, during this particular relationship. Once you were out of that relationship, it was gone. So to me, right away, that sounds like a spiritual attachment from her. There might have been some spirits around her that didn't want you around her. Okay. There could be some jealousy there. There's a lot of weird things that could be happening here. It definitely sounds like that's what was happening there in your incidents. Mm-hmm. And absolutely. As a child, all the traumas and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of like almost like dirt, it just builds up and it builds up. And if you don't wash off, it's just going to keep building up, and it's just going to weigh you down, and you're not going to feel good. So it is important with spiritual hygiene, like we talk about, doing shadow work so that you can work through all of these traumas and come to an understanding, and then hopefully forgiveness comes in there, because all that stuff that we're holding in, all these negative things like that, like they say, misery loves company. So it's kind of like that in the spiritual realm too, that if they see somebody that's, hey, that one's vibing like me down in the gutter there, so I'm gonna go over there, right? Now, if you can get out of that and high vibe, they're gonna be like, I don't want to be there. It's not comfortable anymore, and just bugger off. So just being aware of that and start working on yourself, really. And that's where it all comes from within, like even Jesus was saying that, it's the kingdom lies within, so it is really up to you to work out all these traumas and all of that kind of stuff, and then of course using your sage in the house. It is actually proven scientifically now that the sage does actually kill mold and bacteria in the air. So it's not just a woo-woo thing. Okay, it does work. I've seen it, like people come over to visit and whatever. I always cleanse after, because whatever energies they've picked up, is going to be lingering around them and come into your environment. So spiritual hygiene is for sure very important. Yeah.
Now, since you mentioned saging, let's talk about some of the other tools that you use. One of the things you mentioned earlier is crystals, and I still am trying to understand some of the properties that crystals have, some of the spiritual properties. It seems that they have some kind of conscience and maybe even some type of intelligence to them at times. Definitely very energetic. I'm surrounded by them. I have people giving me crystals here and there. I get them myself. I think they're beautiful and I think they're very powerful. I just don't have that much of an understanding of how to use them and integrate them and things like that. What could you say about your use of crystals?
Yeah, so crystals is something that's naturally formed in the ground. So it is a natural thing. It's got a vibration to it. So each crystal will kind of have its own vibration, but the beauty about them is that you can program them. So again, using your intention by meditating with the crystal, and picking a crystal that kind of already sort of has your manifestation, whatever your thoughts are, right, in it already. And then you can program it for your intention and then start meditating with it. So it's like a tool to help you manifest your desires, whatever it is that you're desiring here. So, like rose quartz, we associate with love and all that kind of stuff. So if you're doing shadow work and we're working on forgiveness and all that kind of stuff, some rose quartz is probably going to help you with that. So it's just a matter of researching to see what it is that you're looking for. If it's protection, there's certain crystals for that as well. And so we do find that helps, but you also need to clear them as well. They also need to be cleansed as well, because they do tend to kind of clog up with energy. So you want to clean them and then reprogram them with your attention again, and then use them. Yeah.
Now, how are you, for the audience, how are you cleaning these?
So there's numerous ways of cleaning. I kind of have a 4-step system that I do. You can use sage. So you use the smoke with the sage. You can use a singing bowl. You can put, like, say, if you have a ring or a crystal or something, put it in the bowl. I'm just going to show you right here, like one of these.
Yeah.
So we're talking vibration here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you put the crystal in there, that vibration there is going to bounce that energy out. It literally will knock that whatever energy is in there out. So I do that. Also, burying it in some black salt for 24 hours is another one. It draws out. It's actually charcoal in the salt is what it is in there. And it draws out the energy, And then my 4th step would be, I got a spray here that I made myself. It's called a white light, and it's a cleansing spray. And so I'll douse my crystals, like even, let's see here, even your pendulums. So like your pendulums quite often will have crystal. This one happens to be resin with crystals inside of it. So I'll then spray it with that and just let that dry. And there you go. That's a 4-step system that I use myself. But, there's lots of products out there for cleansing. There's lots of sprays, sage. Even if you don't have sage, you can use your incense. If you got that burning, you can always let that. That works as well. So Yeah.
Right on. Now, you just held up a pendulum. I've seen these used
Hmm.
plenty of times,
Yeah.
basically where you ask your guides a question and they'll answer it through this swinging of the pendulum, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, so you'll establish a relationship with this tool, and that's the same with tarot cards too. You're not just going to open up the box and start doing divinations. You want to establish a relationship. So, like if I just got this home now, I would go through that cleansing step first of all. Then I would hold this in my hand and I would program it and get to know it, meditate with it. This particular crystal in here is was it lapis lazuli, I think it's called, which is good for the throat chakra. Because I want this thing to speak the truth and nothing but the truth. And also, of course, you are working with your guides and angels. And again, it's a matter of that trusting these crystals, trusting your team. So when you're asking these questions that that is from them and not just some willy-nilly kind of spirit that's here. So, when you program it to how, like for me, it's, yes is, I'm going this way, no, we'll be back and forth. And if it goes this way, it could be yes and no, depending on how you ask the question. It could be depending on something. So as long as you know this ahead of time, you'll know exactly what the answer is, and then trust trust your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. Like that thing moves. Like I can't explain it, but it does, So
Now, have you used things like Ouija boards?
not really. No, I haven't. Not really, no. Because if you're gonna go there and just willy-nilly, you don't know whatever that is. It probably just is some random stranger spirit that happens to be lingering around, Yeah. So I haven't really gotten into the Ouija board. Now, I'm not saying not to do it. I'm sure there's probably a lot of fun there. Some people seem to, use it all the time and have good results, but no, I haven't really gotten into that myself. But yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about your use of tarot. I've seen, again, different people use these in different ways. How are you presenting the tarot readings?
So I like the angel tarot cards. Okay. For the simple reason is that the tarot cards has been around long enough now that most people know what they're all about. Like if I held up the death card, they'd be like, oh, it's death, right? Or tower card. Oh, so I find that if I'm using those, people they're going to come to their own conclusions before I even open my mouth, just because they have association with the tarot cards. So I like the angel cards because they have actually messages on there, and they don't call it the death card. They call it something else, so that people aren't automatically kind of coming to some kind of conclusions here. So I do use that, and I'll use everything on the card. So like you said, synchronicities, I might see a symbol or a number or just one phrase, one word, and it's different for each person, right? So I'm going to notice what it is that I need to notice for that particular reading. Next time I use that same card, I might not even notice that. It's something completely different. So so this is how, and then same with the oracle. Now I like to use the tarot and the oracle, different decks, a lot of different decks, and use my intuition now. So really the cards are like a visual tool, if you will. People like you using tools. If you're not using tools, they don't think that it's real. It's a visual aid, basically. Because I like I said, I can see the same card 10 times, but it's going to mean something completely different because of the messages that comes in. It could be a flash of a picture. It could be just one word. It could be all kinds of different things. But when it makes sense to the person you're talking to. So.
Now, have you found that since you started offering your services and actually practicing this, that people have become a little bit more open-minded to it over the past few years, maybe?
I think so. And I think by kind of stepping back from the traditional tarot, it has helped people, because they definitely, people have their perceived kind of like they're scared of them. Like I'm trying to get my niece into it, and she can't get past the whole death card and all that. She's scared of it. You can tell. So I don't want people to be scared of it. So I try to lighten it up a little bit so that it's more acceptable, more friendly, if you will. The message is still the same. It's just that it's going to look more user friendly or more pleasant maybe for people. So yeah.
Do you integrate any astrology into any of the readings or anything you're doing? I know that alignments of planets and energies that come from the cosmos kind of dictate our reality here in certain ways. Are you into any of that?
So I'm not an astrologist. However, I do like to follow the moonology. It's a new kind of thing now. So I do pay attention to the new moon and the full moons, definitely, those two things there. I have moonology decks that I use. And so when in a reading, like I'll use everything, all of my knowledge. So if something astrology-wise does come up, it could be chakra related, whatever, you use pretty much everything that you have, even life experiences in the reading to get the answer that you need, that they're looking for. Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Now, as far as anything else, any other tools that we kind of haven't talked about or mentioned yet that you use?
No, I use the tarot, the oracle, the pendulum. Those are sort of my tools that I use. I mean, runes that's another one. That's the Old Norse. There's a few divination tools out there. I think every kind of continent has their own sort of tools that they've been using. Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about the energies that have been sweeping across the planet across the past few years, especially since we've had our COVID incidents in 2020 and beyond? We have a lot of changes occurring, and a lot of people are thinking completely different than they did a few years ago. And I know you're in Canada, and that's even more different than what we're experiencing here in the United States. So I'm interested into hearing how are people kind of coming together? Are they evolving? Is there any type of changes that you've seen from the masses since all this has happened, especially where you're at in Canada? How are people reacting to everything?
It is a mixed bag for sure. It seems to be, but it is definitely an awakening happening for sure. I know in the spiritual community, they've been talking about, 5D ascension and some people think that they're literally going to ascend up or something, like the Christians think that they're going to rapture up. And, there's a lot of misconception out there, unfortunately, in the spiritual community. Now, the Great Awakening, I believe we're in it right now. People are waking up to the truth, to the lies that we've been told, and what's really going on here. And for myself, I woke up 7 or 8 years ago now. And so I've been through a lot of different spiritual awakenings, actually, where when I first woke up, I actually got scared back into Christianity for a few months, like literally, and every spiritual awakening that you are purging out everything. The friends, everything, everything is gone and starting all over again. So I've gone through a lot of that. So it's been a lot, I would say, in the last 10, 15 years. But I sure have learned a lot, and I needed to go back there for a bit to learn more of the fringe end of it and to really dive into the last chapter of the Bible. And, because talking about astrology, it's all lined up with we had all these blood moons and this and that and all it's, then I came to the awareness that they, wrote that book 2,000 years ago. They're just playing it out now. That's what it is. It's not that, so in one part, the Christians are right. Yeah, we are in a bit of a end times here, but it's not, what they're saying in the Bible there. A lot of it is bogus to be honest. But some of it is though coming true. I mean, so astrologers 2000 years ago, they could probably tell ahead, hey, there's going to be this, that, and the other thing, right? Wrote it in the thing. And we're like, oh my God, so yeah, it's very clever what they've done. I got to say.
In Canada, I know there's been a lot of changes, lots of shifts in the past couple of years. Do you see things getting any better for you guys? I know you just had a blow with the gun thing, so I don't know how if it's possible for Canada to bring itself out of this kind of dark situation it's in, but we're right behind you guys. Like, America is quickly following in the footsteps, and they're trying to get us disarmed. They're trying to get us in the same position that Australia's in, that you guys are in, just so they can have obedient slaves without any way to defend themselves. You see anything changing or getting better anytime soon with that?
I would like to say yes, but no. This is the agenda, right? Like you said, and all you really have to do is go and look at the past. What did they do in the past, right? Not that long ago, with the last two wars that we had. You start with the famine, and then a war, right? And then we get the glory times. So I do have hope that, once we get through this little hurdle here, that things will get better. I'm hoping that things aren't going to get better until the system that's in play right now is crumbled and gone. Changing out Trudeau is not going to help. We're just going to get another puppet in there. Same with your president. Changing those players out isn't going to do anything. So elections is just, we need to actually uproot it by the root and pull them out so that they don't keep popping up again, basically. So, but having that said, though, we're going to have to go through a couple, 3 years here of some changes. So...
Yeah, I think among many of the other solutions like non-participation and starting your own sustainable communities, one thing that I don't mention often that I wholeheartedly believe in is that we have to fight magic with magic. They have their ritual practices, they have their beliefs, they have their deities, and they have their spells that they put on us. Well, I completely believe that magic is a natural thing. It's a part of our existence, a part of our reality that we've been shut off and closed off to because they don't want us to have access to it. But if we do get access to it, it's a tool. You can either use it for good or use it for bad. If we use it for good countering against some of the negative and evil magic that we're seeing here, I think that's a solution. I think that, more people need to embrace their magical roots. I mean, we're all a part of each other. We all have these powers and energies, and we're all connected, and we all have access to magic because it's a part of our reality. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you're too afraid to admit it or not, whether you were grown up with Catholic dogma and they told you it was evil, it can be if you use it for evil, but it also can be divine and great if you use it for good. I mean, what do you think angels and God and everything is? This is all magic. This is our magical existence, and we have to start embracing it again, I believe, especially in the new era that we're headed into, and I want to get your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Yes. So there you go. So, why not use it? They're doing it. And why not use it, to shield yourself at least? You might not want to be putting hexes and curses on your government and whatnot, because I don't personally do that myself. I do believe in karma, and there's going to be repercussions when you're doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, right?
For our personal benefit. Use it for the good,
So use it, your spiritual hygiene and blocking and protection, all of that, so that they're not going to get to you with their magic. Right. And, and having that close relationship with your spiritual team and your ancestors and all that kind of stuff, and that's might be why I'm awake and, other people aren't, because they're not doing that. I don't know why is it that some of us are awake and some of us aren't? I just, so that might be part of it, and they don't want that. That's why it says in the Bible, you don't want to, astrology and tarot readers. Oh, that's all bad, because they don't want you to know thyself. They don't want you to, go within and meditate and all that. No, because that's not going to be in their best interest if you do that. Right. So.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And another thing is, just coming together with our own sustainable communities. We have to start building our own systems, making our own jobs, making our own farms, making our own forms of entertainment, doing things ourselves. Because when this whole system that we see before us crashes, which it is, it's currently falling apart right before us. It's not sustainable. Everything will fall apart. But the question is, what will we have built up when this happens, so that we can continue with our own type of maybe new utopian world that we created? And that's what I'm hoping for. And I want to know if you see this happening in Canada, where people are doing these things, starting their own communities, starting their own businesses, doing their own forms of entertainment, because they also know that their system is not sustainable.
Yeah, it's like I said, a mixed bag. Some people are, some people aren't. I would say, unfortunately, most people aren't. Most people just go about their day, go to work. They just want it to be the way it was, just la la la, put the blinders on. No, that's not happening. That's kind of like me with the spiritual attacks for 40 years. No, that's not happening. And that's kind of how we go about our day. And, so yeah, I forgot where I was going with that now, but yeah, it's some
No, I was
people
just talking. Is asking if people are starting their own, businesses
so
and
but
communities.
some people are like, I remember actually way back before I was awake, I had a yearning to move out to the country. Didn't quite know. I've noticed my niece, my oldest niece, she's into canning. She's also been growing all kinds of things and canning and stuff like that. Well, that's something. I don't think she knows exactly why she's doing it, but she's getting nudged by spirit, probably, right, to do it. She just isn't that aware of it. But that's kind of great to see that she's doing that. And actually, another friend of mine started doing crocheting, things that we used to do back in the day that kind of was being forgotten. All of a sudden, people are kind of, I think most of them don't even know what they're doing. They just got this urge to do it. So yeah, that is definitely the way that we're going to have to go, back to the way it was. So I know that's going to be very, very hard for the young people who, they've been so sheltered. And I went through it myself with my kids. Like, it was, when I was growing up, we didn't come home until the street lights went on. Our parents didn't know where we were. We were just, nowadays you can't let your kids out in the backyard, so kids have no idea how to take care of themselves. Like, there's grown adults that think that the meat that you buy in the store is made there. They have no association with animals at all. They think that no, I'm serious. So this is the kind of mentality, unfortunately, that most people have. So it's going to be very, very difficult for those people to adjust to the way that it's coming. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to stay there. We're not going to be Amish forever. Okay. I do believe that all this technology, right, has been withheld. And once we get the new system in, we're going to go back to, having, it's going to be easier. We're not going to have to sit there and milk the cows by hand. Okay. In the future, it's just that in order to get through this little, changing of the guards, if you will, we're going to have to be able to take care of ourselves. So going back to hand washing and like pretend that you're going camping for a couple of years, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, now for the last few minutes we have, I want to kind of reiterate the importance of not only following synchronicities, but maybe recognizing some of these paranormal or mystical events that occur on a daily basis that most people are probably just shut off to. Your guides could be talking to you in many different ways. My guest yesterday, Ryan Bledsoe, was complaining to his father, Chris Bledsoe, about how he didn't have these experiences and why you're having all these, meeting the angels and having these profound experiences with interdimensional beings, and I want to. And he wanted this. He experienced so bad, and he's like, well, he told his son, well, you're not ready for it. You don't have the correct mindset. And he said eventually once he was in the correct mindset, it presented itself, but in such a strange way. It was etheric cows that weren't even there, but they were mooing all around him, and these just strange things that you have to pay attention to, that you may not think has anything to do with the paranormal, but probably has everything to do with it, right?
Yeah. That's the thing. I saw that episode. It was quite interesting, actually. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the thing. they're not going to come to you unless you're ready, right? Because you're just going to be scared and probably, not do you any good. So yeah, it is about being ready. And so, so if that's something that you're looking for, get going, get starting on the meditation and taking that time, and just putting the work into it. It's like anything else. It's like a muscle, if you're not working it, it's probably not going to be working for you. So, and then putting that tension out there that, yes, or speaking out loud. It's another thing about spells is that you're speaking out loud so that the universe can hear you. What is your intention, right? Oh, that's what you want. Okay, well, they might start, getting you ready for that then, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, do you have hope for the immediate future that Canada may pull up their pants and get to it a little bit? I have so much. I love Canadians so much. I love the country. I have so much hope for them, but I do see a little delay in kind of getting to some action, and I'm hoping that they will. I don't know if I hope they don't need another slap in the face or 10 to get doing it, but what do you think?
Well, it would have to be a miracle of some sort, like divine intervention, because Trudeau, he was born and bred for this position that he's doing right now. This is his ultimate acting gig. Okay, you got to remember that he is a drama teacher. Okay, yeah. He's a drama teacher. Yeah. That's all he does is reads the script, he remembers it and gives it to us. So as long as he's in there, as long as things are going the way they are now, no, I'm not seeing any hope here. But like I said, I'm waiting for, I don't know exactly how drastic this is going to be, but we do need to get rid of the government the way it is, the Federal Reserve, the dollar is going to be, everything has to kind of collapse. So, yeah.
I think, as long as we are getting ready and setting up our own systems and getting as prepared as we can, that those of us that are doing so have the best chance of all. Nina, this was fantastic. Thank you for coming on. Before you head out, let everybody know where they can find you, all your links, social media, and anything interesting you got going on.
Yeah, I just want to close with too that, I do see hope for the future. Okay. So I don't want people thinking, oh my God, we're going to have to, there's going to be a couple, 3 years of some changes. Okay. But just listening to this right now, that's the beginning of you getting ready mentally. That, the first thing you got to do is mentally get ready. Right. And then hopefully start preparing a little bit, get some food set aside, pretending that you're going to go camping for 2 years. What would you need for that? Basically there. And then I do believe the new that's coming in is going to be wonderful. So look forward to that, But if you guys are interested in readings or anything like that, ninathemystic.net is my webpage. And you can basically find all my social media links there. Of course, I got YouTube. I do free readings. Like tomorrow, I'm doing Hump Day Message. It is a pick a card, so you can come in. I go live at 3:03 Pacific time zone. And you can come in and pick a card and get yourself a message, and you'll be surprised at if you actually sit there and meditate on those numbers and pick. I've had people like just blown away of how accurate just that reading alone is. Never mind a private reading that, of course, you can book in. And I do actually have 25% off my 60-minute reading right now. So you just go to my webpage and all the information will be there.
Excellent. I will have all those links for them in the description. Nina, that was great. We're going to definitely have to do this again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Great. Yeah. All right. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.